Looks like a plumbing issue here. They had to cut it out. Looks like they saved some cutout pieces. So I'm going to try to reuse these. They cut it right to the edge of the stud, so I got to try to get some backing, wood backing in here and here. That way I can reuse the pieces. If I'm not able to reuse these pieces, then I'm going to cut it back to the center of the stud. So I'll cut the sheetrock back about ½ inch. But that's more work than I want to do, so let's try to reuse these pieces before we cut back to the center of the stud. Looks like I can get wood backing here on the bottom part, maybe a piece here and a piece there. So yeah, let's get to work here. It's on a shelf, so I'm just going to put something right here, masking piece of plastic or whatever to contain my mess, make it easier to clean up. But first things first, get some plastic down, get our hanging tools, stuff that we need here, wood backing. That way we can try to reuse these patch pieces cutouts.
Alright, get the plastic down.
Wood backing, probably be easier to cut it back, but I want to try to reuse it. So I'm just going to put wood backing here, put a screw there. This one might not work because there's a bracket here, so I'm just going to do a piece halfway and then another piece. Probably just break it in half. So do one here, then do one here since there's a pipe right there. Inch-and-a-quarter screws since it's ½ inch sheetrock. Wood backing, hold it in. Go up a couple inches inside the wall, put the screw in. One screw's not enough because it might buckle, so I like to get like two or more screws in it just to hold the backing in place. Same thing in the bottom part here. Go down a few inches if possible. Put a couple screws in it. This is wood backing technique. Or you can cut to the nearest stud, but I want to reuse the sheetrock that they left here. I don't want to have to cut it back and use new sheetrock if they left the nice clean pieces here. Piece of wood here is just a 2x3 that I had. Same thing, go up an inch or two in the studs. If you couldn't get it into the thing, you could even screw it into the actual stud right there with like a 3-inch or 4-inch framing screw. One or two. I've seen guys, they actually toenail this wood. You can also toenail it. If you can't catch it, toenail it into the actual stud. Now that's strong because it's toenailed into it. So let's try it. You just need something to screw the old sheetrock to. That's pretty much it for that. Since they kept the piece, it's buckled here because that's just a tape seam, so we'll just retape the tape seam. Find what direction it went in. Pretty simple here. I like to do screws every 3 inches or so. Keep it nice and tight. If this patch is stubborn, doesn't want to fit, you might have to cut it back with the razor so that it fits. Plenty of screws. Screws are cheap and easy. You don't want this patch sticking out because it'll turn into a mud nightmare. You want it nice and flush and flat. That piece of wood I put here, remember there's a pipe there. So put screws where their pipe is. Same thing with the top right with the stud. Don't catch it, kick it over. Kick it over. Gosh, might need a new tip for this drill. That's pretty much it. there we go. 6 inch nail, scrape the edges. That tape seam there, that was a tape seam. You could dig it out if you want, or just tape over it. No screw heads sticking out. Make sure all your screw heads are sunk. So they did us a favor by keeping this patch. It would have been a lot more work if they threw it away. This is an optional product. If you've seen some of my videos, you know I like to use this. This is just to tack the fiberglass in place. Fiberglass likes to stick to new sheetrock, but it don't like to stick to old drywall. So this is just an optional product. Just tack holding it in place until I can mud it. Tack place, that way it doesn't fall off when I go get my mud. The tape falls off the patch. So that's why I do the spray glue. Optional product, trade secret. Tack in the wall. I don't want that tack there when I go to mud. But yeah, nothing to it. Push down fiberglass. Everybody loves or hates this fiberglass, but if you use it correctly, you'll never have any issues, no cracks. You just got to make sure your patch is tight. If your patch is loose, fiberglass ain't going to do nothing. You got to have a nice tight patch, nice sheetrock hung job. Yeah, that's pretty much ready for first coat. I like to scrape the outside edges where I'm going to mud, so if there's any boogers or anything sticking out, it doesn't get in the way of my mudding. But yeah, fiberglass mesh tape. Put all my hanging tools away. I'm going to go get some fresh water, and I'm going to mix some 5-minute quick set mud. Get this all coated out, that way it can start drying. Alright, first coat. I like to strike in with fiberglass. Strike it in with mud. That just gets in the grooves, the netting, the fiberglass. Then you can turn around and coat it. Hold it tight. I got it inside the grooves, kind of like a pre-fill. Now I'm going to use my 12-inch knife and just fold out the patch. Full coat over the patch. Any extra mud, take it out wider, further. Nice coat job over this patch. And pulling it sideways. You can pull it any direction. A little more mud in my pan. I'm going to use up all this mud since I mixed it. I don't want to waste it, so I'm going to put it on pretty heavy on the top since it's tying in. That's it. Just let that first coat dry, okay? Since this is hot mud, it's going to set up pretty quickly. If you're using a joint compound, you'll have to let this first coat dry overnight, then turn around and sand it before you do the second coat. Hot mud, it's going to set up here. This is a 5-minute mud, so it's going to set up here between 5 to 8 minutes. Still damp. If I push down hard, I'll make a groove into it. But it's set up. That's why we have a sponge and a 6-inch knife. We're going to slick this out. You have to slick it out, these hot muds. This is a hot mud slick out. The edge, most important. Kind of get it damp. This is not a soaking wet sponge. It's just a damp wet sponge. Pulling it tight, taking off the extra material. I'm taking that material and kind of filling in any chatters. It's almost like a second coat if you slick out correctly. You can also go the opposite direction to fill in any chatters, waves. You're just basically taking that mud on your knife, taking off the extra materials where it's heavy, and then filling in any areas that didn't get enough mud. This is basically like a coating technique. Caught it just in time, get rid of that edge again. That's a nice coat. Look at all that extra mud I put on. Since I put it on heavy and slicked it out good, this is pretty much ready for this type of texture, honestly. If you weren't happy with what it looks like, you would follow through with another tight coat. I'm going to let this set up, make sure the edges are gone. Check it, double check it, real tight against the wood trim here. I don't want a big clump of mud on the bottom. We're just going to let that set up. And then I'm going to turn around and texture it with the all-purpose joint compound, doing the skip trowel type texture. Easy, easy. They kept that patch, so they made it easy for us. Just adding backing, put it in there, retape it with fiberglass tape, do a nice heavy coat of some 5 minutes, slicked it out. It's almost like a second coat. Let it dry. With this really rough texture here, it's good. Nothing to it. The knife is doing the work. I'm just gliding the knife over the patch. It's skipping, taking it further and wider, higher. It just blends it all in nicely. Nice transition. Nothing to it. Take it out further and wider. Make sure all your skip is on. Before you trowel it down, knock it down. I'm just going to go over a little more. Now knock it down, knock it down. I'm going the opposite direction. I put it on, just a light gliding over the area. And then I'm going to go the opposite direction, just trowel it down. This fills in any direction. Any light areas with skip trowel, you can just put a little more on, no big deal. That's the beauty of skip trowel. It's done by hand. I love skip trowel. Nothing to it. There you go.